Where's Christopher? Christopher is late. Anyways, hi, how are you, everybody? Okay, I put up the standard old greeting. If you've got a one-page comic idea that you can put in 1 or 2 sentences, put it here or in the chat or in the comment section below the video. In case you see the video after this is over. Okay, so today's one-page comic is the Salt and Pepper Showdown. So this is a suggestion that came in from somebody a long time ago. So I'm finally catching up on that. And I got a number of these things. So the finished page, as per the usual, I drew a number of the images and elements on different pieces of paper. Hey, how are you doing over there? Oh, I'm good over here. How are you doing over there? So, and from a rough scribble down idea, which I generally didn't use, it was far more elaborate about everybody sneezing around the 2 principal characters. Very fun. A lot of fun. What do we got here? Oh, for goodness sakes. Hi, everybody. Sorry, I'm not paying attention to everything. Greetings, buddy. How you doing, Gary? I'm glad that AZ went really well for you. Anybody gets a chance, go check out Gary's Instagram and his YouTube and everything else. But takes $30 to an art festival and comes home with 2. That's how you do her. Well done, buddy. On good day, Philip. See me rocking a toque today. You know, that's how we do her up here in the north, eh? I don't know. I went out this morning to a doctor's appointment at 7:30 a.m. And I never took my toque off. My studio's downstairs, so you know, it gets a mite chilly down here, you know. So not chilly enough for a toque, but you know, what am I going to do with myself? Okay, so this is today's one-page comic. It's a very elaborate amount of things to be put into place just to have the joke that salt is not good for you. Yeah. But I had some fun with the language. Hopefully, see, this is one of those things when you do a page like this, hopefully people aren't going to look at it and go, his spelling is terrible. And hopefully people look at it and try to read it phonetically, because to me, you know, that's the fun. That really is the fun when you get something like that to go through. And of course, my first joke is it took place around lunchtime. When the shootouts happen in Westerns? Put your answer in the chat. I'm out of my rocker today. So, I had a good appointment. I've had the doctor's appointments first thing in the morning for the last 2 days. And let me tell you, I'm not a big fan of that, getting up at the crack of dawn. Hey, look out, Gary. Nicely done. High noon. Mm-hmm. It's a really lame high noon joke, but the sheriff, we were the salt of the earth, I reckon. You know, you got to have fun. You got to have fun with stuff like the old Pepper Jack were fixing to flavor things up in town. Things would have got real spicy, except that dang nor'easter blew and filled the air up with all kind of grit. They're really hangry. Nicely done, Dee Dee. It's just a fun page. And the initial idea, of course, is a showdown between Salt and Pepper, which is one of those fantastic, here's just a notion, here's a drop in the bucket idea, and go for it, right? And those are the ones that sort of just, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with myself? I've got a couple things I pulled out. Now, I'm going to switch to, so this is today's, this is yesterday's. I'm having some fun. This is really minimal, and then today's, of course, really complicated, because that's how I do. But we have got a couple of fun things to look at. Show and tell time. So this is, now I used to have a whole bunch of letter type. And what letter type is the little metal letters, you know, the tiny little metal letters that you put into trays, and you write out the newspaper articles, and then you roll over with ink, and then you, of course, put it through the press and put pages through it, and it stamps. And there's how you print. You know, there's the old school way of making newspapers, or eventually greeting cards and so on and so forth. In the not so recent days of printing. So the printing stuff that I inherited from somebody had given it all to me, and I'm really thankful for that. But because of my life at the time and being a single dad of two, and this stuff really wasn't getting used and it was taking up a lot of space. So in arrangement with a number of local artists, I said, well, why don't we set up this printmaking and I'll bring my stuff towards it. And then you guys can engage with all that too, because you're all very hungry to be doing printing. And then they moved it to Kitchener. So I went on my printing stuff. But in the interim, I had all kinds of stuff from that, and I got a bunch of letter type sets that I still have here. But there were things in that block of all this material. Oh, by the way, it was Chatham. It was a Chatham printing company. It happened to be the same printing company that a young Joe Siegel worked at before he went to Toronto and worked in the newspaper. And then eventually created Superman, which is kind of cool. So I have letter type sets that may very well have once been touched by the guy that invented Superman. Boy, is that like 3 steps away from being an actual connection. So, but there are a number of things in there. Like this is old cardstock, pre-cut with a rounded edge in order to print people's business cards. But what it is very, very fun for is, doing quick little scribbles of things on. So this is something that, and all it is you sit down with a ballpoint pen. In fact, this pen, and just doodle away. So this is all part of this is a different color pen, clearly. This is part of a project that I'm putting together for myself. So there's a lot more of them, but this is the stuff that, is not a recognizable licensed thing, right? So this is one of the thingamajobs I'm doing. Now, the nice thing about these, of course, is that when laid out, my goodness, you've got pre-made panels, right? Like it's kind of a fun thing to, if you're going to do sketch cards, to have them on prefab sketch cards, right? So now, as per the usual, I can't help myself but put tape and paint and ink washes and whatnot down on these suckers. But yeah, they're a lot of fun to play with. Okay, Dee Dee, by the way, thank you. If you're still here, Posca pens. Thank you, Dee Dee. Dee Dee turned me on to those, and that is clearly the most opaque paint pen that I have ever found. So here's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about modulating the surface and putting some tape down, and then of course putting a wash over top of that, and then putting a spaceship on that, and da-da-da-da-da-da. So, but I can't show you what's underneath that because it's a licensed project for a thing that I'm working on in my morning job. So, yeah. So yesterday's, just in case it didn't show up in the camera, these are the original pages from the original images that I put together for today's page. What do you need, son? Hey, my son Josh is here. Hi, Josh. Bye, Josh. He did this at me. What does this mean? I'm going to manhandle you like a gorilla. I think it means monkey love. I don't know. So this is, and that's the initial scribble idea that upside down. It's for the page that I ended up not doing anyways. But maybe there's something to that for later on. And the original joke on that one wasn't, it just said lunchtime. So thank you, Dee Dee. Thank you, Dee Dee. Big heart. He loves me. Thank goodness. Jeez. He's a gorilla. Anyways. Yes, they are very sweet, Dee Dee. And thank you very much for referring me to Posca pens. Posca paint pens? Posca paint pens. For the whole family. I did a little, I don't know if you got a chance to see this, Dee Dee, but I did a whole little comparison of different white paint pens and white materials, white mark making materials, and based on opaqueness. And there's different things that each of them provide. This is not white. The Copic brick white is not white. So don't get caught with that sucker. All right, so yeah, so yesterday's page went really well. Now, somebody had sent me an email, and I'm not going to open up the email because that's not necessarily fair to the person that sent it to me, but I really appreciate that they did. And they're wondering, they asked a couple of questions about my weird way of drawing, as per their words. Got to turn this down. Today's musical choice is The Things the Lord Taught Me by the Cramps. It's old rockabilly style music, punk rock rockabilly. Anyways, so one of the questions that he had is, how do I go about, because I don't do an awful lot of line structure when I draw, you know, as per example, as yesterday's example shows, I got a limit of how far I can go. You know, in drawing things like this, there's no breakdown, there's no line art in advance of that, or in any of these. It's just go for it, and I call it like a tractoring around on the image. And what I'm referring to in that is, you know, there's some reference I've looked at for the inherent structure of something, or an example of some of the aspects of the image, and I study that for a moment. And then I just go through that image and I just move around, finding those textures and finding those pieces and parts of that. I can't quite. I've been thinking about this, and I really don't have some sort of structured way of assessing how I'm drawing. And what I mean by that is I can't really quite clearly break that down. So it's just a lot of practice, and you know, a lot of doodling over the years. And so one of the things, because I find I'm unhappy. So if this is me breaking down things as line art, I generally get unhappy with the outcomes of these things, because I find that I'll tilt my perspective a little bit, or you know, there's no real consistent image. I start just looking at a bunch of different aspects of an image, or if I'm, yeah, look, it's a yellow shoe. So when I'm looking at a character and breaking it down, rather than breaking it down structurally, I'm looking for those shapes and those lines and those movements. And so for me, and even when I'm painting or whatever else, it's the same sort of applique. It's looking at things as form. You know, here's another pile of randomness. It's looking at things as form and volume rather than as line. So that's as much sense as I can make of it. And so the idea was, you know, if they could possibly sit down and look at a way to structure that out while I'm. And it's the same time I got to work on the next one page. So today's one page is, let's see, we've done Urban Sasquatch Hunters. We've done famous historical characters in a boxing contest. We've done Werner Herzog hosting a beauty pageant. And then we've done Showdown Between Salt and Pepper. So that leaves Horror Monsters doing the Brady Bunch theme. Or, yeah, that's what it leaves. On this list, anyways. There's also Remarriage and Dishes, but I have no idea what to do with that. What we thought would be funny is Lori's basically crafting an idea with me about, Lori's my partner, is crafting an idea with me about, you know, we're at that age where we'll read things wrong, and it's actually a funnier title than the actual title of the show. Remarriage and Desires is this program, this K-drama that came up on our Netflix, and my wife read it as Remarriage and Dishes, and I didn't correct her because I read it the same way. Oh yeah, that's what it says. Well, you know, we'll do this all the time. There's hey buddy.
Hey.
Josh was just here.
Yeah, I know. I just thought that.
Okay. All right. My
class was canceled. So.
Nice. there's muffins upstairs if you want to have one. Okay, so the next thing I thought I'd do is if I look at the Universal Monster page, we can do that. Or there's a couple of old notions that are kicking around still from previous one-page comics that we can take a boo at. This is a number of the one-page comic suggestions that I've been given over time that I have done zero with. And I generally, here's a few of them. Yeah, sorry. My wife has made muffins for the household here, and she has used artificial sugar on them. So these taste different is the common expression out of it. They're good, but the kids all go, these taste different. This is Halloween. This is a Halloween page that I did. This is the photo stat of it, actually, because the original page is gone. But it's Halloween's 58 is the joke. And so somebody's suggestion was simply, can you do Halloween 58? So there's the logo of the film coming up over the inside, embedded in the scene, which I always like. And here's the number 58 on the household post. But Jason is so old and senile at this point that he can't find his knife. So the kids come to the door and he pulls out a spatula. Just 1 minute, kids are already running away screaming. And he's got a ping pong paddle, a lamp. He's tripping. There's all these other items. The door rings. He comes out with a tennis racket. Halloween 58. And there's his knife stuck in a pumpkin. Silly, silly, silly business. So these are one-page bits that I've got to finish off. This is this page I did finish in color. Is Flat Earth's ending as seen through a fish-eyed lens. So that's what this is. And of course, you can see that I've got some Zipatone in there, right? And just to give some cool texture as it feeds into the image. And having a lot of fun with this one. But there's the apocalypse for the flat Earth. This one is Food Truck for Cannibals, which is an awkward one. But yeah. It's Hercules. It's Hercules' less committed little brother. There's a 4-page bit about a guy traveling through time that I've done nothing with. So I have a number of these things that I've got to get finished off. This was one I did on Facebook where I let people choose what I'm doing in the next panel. This is Bad Luck Bill, and again, this is, just sort of drawing, and there we go. This is Elvis resurrected for the holidays. Lots of fun. Anyhow, so there's one-page stuff that I've got yet to put out and post out that I've had previously done, and I will get to. But Cup of Joe. So I'll show you something. 1 second. Here we go. Here's all my research for the Universal Brady Bunch page. Here it comes. There it is. So this is just a random book with a bunch of horror movies and of all time here, and lots of images. So this would be something that is a quick, easy reference for me to find pictures of all these different Universal monsters. So that helps. And then I've got, of course, the old school version of these, which is a nice old hardcover, with yellowing pages, but it's the same sort of thing. It's literal Universal monster films in order as they came out. So there's stuff in there that you never get to see again, like this fantastic Medusa costume with the snakes in her hair, and and look at this, just old traditional makeup can often be far more scary than a lot of the stuff that they get up to now. And I think the reason that I say that is that I think that when you do these slight little appliques onto like just some teeth and a woman with a really stretched expression, or some crazy teeth with a little bit of modeling on the forehead, or of course there's some fair amount of prosthesis on this lady, but I find that far scarier than when you see something that's a absolutely monstrous creature that just defies convention. Creature from the Black Lagoon was designed by a woman. Right on. I didn't know that. See, here's the thing. We do a lot of this today, and I got no problem with it. I think it's important that we point out that not everything is a boys' club. But at the same time, I've never thought too much about, male, female creators that are producing materials over history for projects. I just I've never had any. I'm looking for a Black Lagoon picture just for your reference. I've always been open to that. That's awesome. That's fantastic when a lady gets more recognition, but you know what I mean? I don't want to go out of my way to find that. I don't want to go out of my way to sort of say, well, this was created by this, this person that's less represented, or this was created by this person that's less represented. Because I think it should be normalized that, women create fantastic prosthesis and creatures and stuff like that. There's a teacher at Fanshawe College here in London who teaches a lot of special effects stuff for film. And she's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant. She's worked on tons and tons of films, and the Resident Evils and the whatever else, and the Who's Mitts and the What's Its. And there we go. She's just got credits and everything. And then there's another person that I know that has worked in lots and lots and lots of special effects things, that lives just outside of London. But her name's Michael. And so a lot of people just assume it's a fella. But she's never had a problem in her career of making quite a name for herself, but it just happens to be a traditionally expected to be masculine name. There's some look at this guy. This is just a dude with some weird hat on, like to make his head look like, space alien head. Or here's my favorite monster of the day, everybody. Anyhow, so I'll look at old images like this. Okay, there you go, Philip. That's for you. Lots of Godzilla types. What is this called? Her brain sucked out of the back of her neck by a materialized thought, and the fiend without a face. Gilman is a perfect design. Gilman is, have I missed it? Did I not recognize Gilman? Which is Gilman? Is it a Godzilla thing, or is it Harvey? Or it's Willard, isn't it? Yeah, it's Willard Harvey. Yeah, there's so many great designs, and I really like the old school Godzillas. I really do. I think they're so fun, and because of the fact that they look like a person in a lizard suit at times, and I think that's just great. Gilman, I'm gonna have to look Gilman up. Anyhow, so this is what I'll do: is that I'll source an image in a book, Laxir, and then just get cracking on it. So, the Creature from the Black Lagoon. I didn't realize that the Creature from the Black Lagoon was called Gilman. Thank you, Gary. Yeah, it's read the book, The Lady from the Black Lagoon by Mallory O'Meara. I'm going to write that down. You guys know I like the reading, huh? Hi, Corbin. By Mallory O'Meara. All right, so there we are. Good. Does anybody have we watch Svengoolie on Saturday nights. Is that a horror show? Is that I do my best to keep hip with all the happenings there, folks. But has anybody got a specific monster. Now, let me look at, this is Frank Salazar's suggestion of horror monsters doing the Brady Bunch theme. Does anybody have? Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Is that a streaming thing or is that a channel? Does anybody have a specific monster you want me to do to start with? He looks like he's gonna cry. Anyways, Svengoolie. Svengoolie. I'm gonna write that down now. I like Count Floyd. Sorry. Hey kids, that scare you or what? Huh? No? Well, get out of here, you rotten kids. I'll get you. Yeah. Wolfman. Gary's got the Wolfman. 40 years of Svengoolie. Now he's become the old librarian from Little House of, or the Hilarious House of Frightenstein. All right, we got different Wolfmans. The modern ones, I don't think. See, I like the old school Wolfman. I really do. I think that there's something about it that just, you know, like this film here, American Werewolf in London, scared the holy baloney out of me. It scared me like a scaredy catty scaredy thing. You're mad because I put a book on your spot. I'm sorry. Here. There you go. That's what he's carrying on about. Yeah, I'm not. I'm a big scaredy cat. So when I saw American Werewolf in London, I got scared. I ran away like a little baby. That's my mummy. It's in here. We saw it a minute ago. So this, I'll pull up this piece of reference. Chip off the old hump. I love these old articles for old horror books. It's a chip off the old hump. It's 1 million BC. I don't know if that's a Humpback of Notre Dame reference. But got no. Anybody got a? I want to do some things on some different pieces of paper and color and whatnot. So, does anybody got any preferences for anything? Lon Chaney Jr., the only Wolfman. Yeah, there's just something about that Wolfman that just scared the baloney out of me. It's one of those things. What is the hump it's referring to? Lon Chaney Jr. blooms, the bloom of his career. What a great face that is. What a fantastic face. Anytime that you can just still frame something like a tableau, you know, that's okay. I found it. Here's the image. I'll pull it around. Just give me a second. How's that one? Because this lets me do the shot, the 9-panel shot of the family all looking at each other. Hump, a young Frankenstein quote. Nice. Okay, so what I'm referring to is in my head, I'm just sort of filling in the structural part, and I'm, you know, but it's just sort of my way of drawing is that I'm thinking about as I'm working through the image, I'm thinking about, and this is why there'll be variation in my drawing. Just sit down. I got everybody visiting me today. He's as much of a needy character as anybody else is, this cat. All right, so anyways, what I was saying is that I'm thinking about the different planes and the different shapes and forms within the structure of the face as I'm rolling through. And so as I'm sitting here, it's not as much a matter of copying the image as it is thinking about the shape of the eye and how that space, how can I represent that space with my mark making? Because I know that there's a concavity in the skull in order for us to have our eye socket, you know, and all the little parts of our eye socket moving in the ways that they do. But I just try to keep track of that and just try to keep that in mind as I'm working. And so oftentimes I will do variations on whatever the source image that I'm using, because of the fact that this isn't exact and it's not laid out as a structured thing. I'll do little things like if I'm repeating this little textural pattern in the hair, because I haven't laid it out in a structured way that this piece goes specifically here and specifically here, I'll contort that, and I'll concavity sounds like something Gary would say. There we go. And that gets a star. Say concavity for us, Gary. So I'm trying to think of, doing what I can for following through around the structure of that face, and finding those lines and finding those different places that the form shifts and turns and moves around. But I recognize how haphazard that is, and that it can very easily, can very easily stray from the reference. And I'm good with that. I'm okay with that, because I'm not a photocopier, neither is anybody else. I'm not specifically drawing the reference as it is. I'm interpreting it my own way, right? But it seriously does. Dee Dee, double down. She doubled down. Yeah, there's I like Gary. He uses them words. Uses them big ones, eh? It's Gary and I have been noticing a few little commonalities between the two of us, and it's interesting that people says as we're not close by any means to one another, and we're other than the fact we're both in North America, but there's definite similarities in aesthetics and vernacular, and it's nice. It's nice to meet all you caricatures from hither and yon. Language is fun. Language is something that I really like to play with, and which is like a prime example of that would be the cowboy page that I just did. Is that I just that sort of that stylized vernacular, that sort of stylized, a nor'eastern blew in and filled the earth with all kind of grit, like that. That's so great. Now, whether or not that's how people actually spoke, or if it's a Hollywood thing, I don't know. This is just a piece of random orange yellow paper that I'm using. Where'd it come from? I don't know. It's oftentimes I'll buy cardstock in a block or the like, and this is just a random colored piece of paper I'm picking around. Gary says, it's true, I use the words. I think there were periods I was shy about it, but at 48, I embrace it. Very good. Yeah, we should. I think it's absolutely important that we do. It's funny, I have a challenge with a lot of nerd culture because words have meaning. I have a problem when people say, I'm totally a geek. And I know that there's this whole modern thing that goes on about, sort of recapitulation of words, the whole paying it back and paying it forward of words so that you can say something like geek and take it as empowerment to call yourself that. But a geek was a circus performer that bit the head off chickens. And so while I am a very clearly nerdy guy who was not always 6'6" tall and was bullied a fair amount when I was younger, for being as nerdy as I am, I hate the term geek. I don't see it as empowerment. I see it as sort of just people just generally being misinformed on the etymology of words. But power to them. They want to call themselves that. We know what they mean. They really don't. That's the thing, right? Is he in? Can you see him? Yeah. You want to? Here we go. Come on. Hi, everybody. Hey, I'm a pest. Look at me. You happy now? You okay with that? How about you sit down? Hey, there you go, Gary. Gary has the same association with geek. I can't stand when people leave out the T in words like button. Really? Do you get a lot of that? Yeah, that could be very aggravating for sure. I hate the term optics, by the way. Optics. I hate that term. I hate the general way that it's used. Hate is a powerful word, and it has a very specific amount of vehemence to it, right? I was chomping at the bit. It's champing. Isn't that a horse reference? Champing at the bit? Not specific. Yes, a bit is a horse thing, but isn't it a horse champs at the bit? Yeah, that's a tricky one. Yeah, that is so funny. I think it's yeah. Champing at the bit. And then I do little things that I know that must aggravate people. Like I'll say, okay, all right. Yeah, that's good. And I'm talking to myself. I'm not talking to anyone else per se. It's just one of them there things. Y'all here? So the fun thing about old black and white movie books is that they really sort of give us this kind of tableau style lighting. It's a horse thing, and I get why chomping makes sense, but yes, it's champing. Well, chomping, of course, we do with our mouths, but I think that's the mistake, is that people don't understand, like I say, the etymology of a term, where it comes from, and it's in reference to horses, and horses don't chomp. Yeah. A bunch of uptight nerds. See, nerd is something I have no problem with the term. I really don't, because nerd at least equivocates the idea that you're intelligent, right? Oh, yep, I can imagine that. I don't think I've ever seen anybody write tax, T-A-X, like that in reference to brass tacks, but good heavens. That's fantastic. That gets a star. That's going to get a star. Gary's okay, I'm done, he says. Yeah, it's definitely a challenging thing. So this is what I'm referring to when I'm talking about just moving around the image, and it's almost like I do it in a sort of circular pattern from the reference material. It's like I find the starting point wherever that starting point is, and just sort of oscillate like that, so that it allows me to, have some sort of comparable scaling without having to mark it all out. But it's clearly going to be off, and it's clearly going to have distinct variations on the or from the original source material. Free reign. Yep. We need a top 5. Oh yeah, definitely a top 5. Here's how I know. Hey, I'm on board if you want to. I'll jump in on that one with you, buddy. Here's how I know that Gary is the same kind of stop kissing my arm, cat. Sorry. This is how I know that Gary is the same kind of guy as I am is that he uses malapropism. I can see what you mean now, Didi, by Gary words. It's challenging. Like I read a lot as a kid because, like I said, I grew up in a really tough neighborhood, for London, Ontario, Canada, and so because I was bullied and rather small until I hit 16, and I went from 5 foot. When I was 16, I was about 5'6". And at 15, and I was about 6'2" by the end of that summer, and the bullying stopped then. But up until that point, I was really fast, but I was also not that I was overly verbose. It's just that I'm well read. I was well read anyways at that time for a kid. And it's sad. It's sad to me that we're losing children reading the classics, reading in general. That's a terrifying prospect to me. It's really important that we keep these kids reading on some level, even if it's children's version, some sort of iteration that's specifically simplified and geared towards young people to be able to read on their own of classic literature. And that way, at least we're some larger process of thought. Didi says we can make complete comics with these. We sure could. There's definitely something to that. This is a fun thing for me to do books this way. Since I've really started to truly engage in using processes to my advantage of doing the material and not having to have it be a staid approach where I panel to panel to panel to panel for the page, that I can draw the panel and then go into Photoshop and modify it. I'm appreciating the opportunities that presents to me very much. And I'm learning more every day. Today, I found out what the Magic Lasso does. The Magic Lasso tool. And I know that anybody here that's probably ever touched the Photoshop machine knows what that does immediately. But yeah, it takes me a while to figure out new things sometimes. When I get a hold of them, oh, look out. My goodness, he's going to make the biggest mess you ever seen. By the way, that's the voice in my head when I wrote the Salt and Pepper Showdown. It took place around lunchtime. The sheriff, he was the salt of the earth, I reckon. So, yeah. Didi has said, I started putting 3 books a week in my community tab, and Gary shows 3 a week on his stream. Maybe I need to start jumping in on that bandwagon. That sounds like a lot of fun. I know that we've talked about this before, but clearly I didn't commit to that, or didn't follow through on a commitment. This might be too hard a one-page comic to write, but maybe 2 people confusing each other by speaking in malaprops and nonsense. I could care less. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, that's fantastic. Where's your Didi in your community tab? Where do I find that? And anybody else that might have some interest in that, where can we find your community tab? Is that on your website? Is that through Facebook? I'd be interested in looking at that. Oh, I'm not keeping up here. Sorry. Gary, I like this a lot. I'm going to star that. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. New comments. How do I get it? There we go. The tabs and YouTube. Okay, yeah, I'm going to check that out. DD, YouTube tabs, 3 books. Excellent. Muy excelente. So my favorite part of the Brady Bunch image, of course, is where the kids are all looking up, and mom and dad, of course, are looking, at all of their children, and we're a big family. Look at all of us. We tried to, we were going to emulate that at home here, because Lori and I, when we married, we fused our families together. So I had 3, she had 2, we have 5. And then I brought the cat, which is kind of like an Alice, but so we had joked about doing a Brady Bunch photo set in our household. We just never sat down to it. And now, of course, the trick is getting people to sit down. Everybody's always moving around, bopping and weaving, chitting and chatting. And to show I'm not above criticism. Video home lives shorts community. Thank you. Doesn't work on iPad. I don't have an iPad. That's okay. That's great. That's great, Gary. Oh, fantastic. Everybody says you should get the iPad. I can't even figure out. My wife has an iPhone. If there's a secure thing as a couple trying to keep secrets from one another, then Lori and I have unwittingly done so, because she can't figure out my Android phone, and I can't figure out her iPhone. And it's, of course, we just say it's swipe this and do that, because we have no problem with each other going into each other's phones, but we have to walk the other one through it every single time. They're very different operating systems for sure. So, all right. So I'm pleased with how our werewolf kid is coming along here. Let's just give him some. Don't cheat and not fulfill his luscious manes. So we've got to push this forehead out a little bit. In shadow. Fun. Dee Dee says, iPhone and iPads are so easy and intuitive. Yes. I started with an Android phone, and it's almost, I'm kind of a Luddite, if there's any surprise in that statement. Does anybody know what a Luddite is? Does anybody know about Andrew Ludd? Oh, coincidentally, the email that I got also brought up this. Why is my wedding ring on the wrong finger? That irritated the person a little bit. Why is your wedding ring on the wrong finger? And it's because I have lost, I have to have my ring resized. So right now, if I put it on this finger, it will fall off. And I don't want to lose that. Wolfman reminds me of when I had hair. Very good, Malcolm. You are old, Dee Dee says. Ludd was a person who was against industrialization and wanted to go and live in a cave and reject the modern industrial process. And this is this is long before our modern year. So my 23-year-old grandson is a Luddite. There you go. A Luddite, of course, rejection of technology. I use it in reference to that. I'd rather hide in a cave. Just because for me, there's just, hey, just get an iPad. No. Smoke shape of Chris. He's gone. He's in a cave. You can hear the echo of him crying in the back. That's my new thing to yell, by the way. I put this on a page. That's going to be coming out. Somebody takes off running and shouts, "Smoke shape!" I don't know if anyone's going to get that, but I just thought it'd be fun. Didi and doesn't read anything on tablet, only real books. Yes, indeed. I'm the same, Gary says. I don't like to read off tablets. I do enough screen looking. I just live hooks. I think it's love books. Yeah, love books. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with the affordance of books at this point in life. I'm really I love them very much. I like the idea of being able to take an old yellowed book thing like this here and to be able to look through it, and sure, the pages can smell at times, but I like those finds. Those, you go to an old bookshop, a used bookstore. Oh, it's a loaded gun. These iPad loves to autocorrect against her will. See, you can't trust the robots, do you? All right, so about enough time to wrap up on this kid, because at this point, I'm pretty sure I'll be editing out some of his form at this point to fit him into this little rectangular panel. There was a person that was watching the stream for a little while there named Seven, and Seven would always talk about, don't trust the robots. It used to make me laugh. I'd always say, thank you, Seven. But Seven reached out recently and just sort of said they're taking care of some things. So wish Seven the best. All right, so there's our guy here. All right, so there's our I don't know, Bobby Brady. Hey Jim, how you doing, buddy? So that would be an example of what I mean by I just kind of find a reference and tractor around the image. Maestro. So yeah, we've got a couple of other characters that we can go with here. Does anybody have any other Universal monsters that they'd like to see represented specifically? We've got 4 spots for fellas and 4 spots for ladies, and then we've got that's such a great. I want a cheeseburger. Who is that? That's Christopher Lee. Yeah. Boris Karloff. Yeah, there's John Barrymore there. I like a lot of these old images. There's a good Bela Lugosi that they could do. And so in trying to do the various Brady's, we can do this one for him. As I figure it's got to be in there. But does anybody have any ones that may not be the main cast? I really like the high contrast of old black and whites. So Jim, there's a suggestion from Dee Dee of a stream, a top 5 stream for malapropisms, if you're interested. So I know that I realize that this is a rather crude and you can clearly see how I'm self-correcting along the way all the time, but it is a crude way of going about and drawing. But I find that this sort of seems to be a way that works for me when working from reference. I'm excited here in London. There's an event tomorrow at this the gallery that I run the London Comic Jam at. And there's an event where we're going to have a whole bunch of different creative types from the community get together and reintroduce each other to each other. And I'm looking forward to that because, as we all know, doing this whole creative thing at home tends to get a little bit isolating. So I'm keen to get back in the scene. Oh my goodness. Dee Dee refers to herself as the typo queen. I don't know. I think I might be. So my way of editing myself at this point is, as I'm lettering pages, I have also open in front of me a screen in the search engine just to specifically type any word I have a question about, any single word that, I need to make sure that I've got correctly. So I'll type it into the search for the definition of said word, just so that I know I've typed it, or that I've at least made some kind of effort in the typing of it to have it spelled correctly. So. Just because I'm so proficient at making errors that way. Boy, you should see some of my earlier books. The fur on Wolfman is nice. Oh, hey, thank you, Dee Dee. That's very nice of you. It's just fun about following those little lines, those little textures, those little bits, It's almost like part of the characteristics of the different characters is that they have very different surfacing to them, and I would be interested if there's some deliberate choices with that, with the makeup application, or for these different actors as they're portraying these characters, because I would think so specifically for like Karloff or Chani for sure, but I feel like Bela Lugosi's Dracula has this sort of smooth, kind of a glassy texture on the surface. And I like that. What's just happened? Oh, my daughter's just updating me about something, my oldest. So I like that. I look for those things when I'm drawing, is that I try to find and emulate the little ways that light moves about on whoever, whatever it is that I'm doing an image of. And then I take liberties, like I'm taking liberties, clearly putting a little more definition into the structure of the face and the cheek for the lower part of Dracula's face compared to the high contrast of the photograph. And the reasoning behind that is because there's one, of course, there's the more visual authenticity that comes through with that, you know, the character is more clearly defined, but also it that's the thing I'm talking about when I'm saying don't just stick to the source imagery. Take the knowledge from practice and carry it on further. Gary says, I never thought about this before, but I'm assuming back in that era, they probably had to do a lot of photo tests to see how they look in black and white, sitting around waiting for film test shots to develop. Yeah, that's what he says, and sweating a lot in those costumes for sure. I know that the funny thing, when you see color photos or colorized, like images that are colorized with the approval of the actors, you know, they're saying this is specifically the level of green that my Frankenstein makeup was with Karloff. They're bright green. Like they're not, there's no subtlety to the coloring of Frankenstein. There's no subtlety to it at all. It's a really bright value that the makeup is in. So there's a beautiful piece that I really enjoyed years ago when it first came out. Clive Barker, the horror novelist, did Hellraiser comics with Marvel through their Epic line, and all these fantastic creators would work on those. And one of those pieces was done by Mark Chiarello. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And who was he was the oh, I'm terrible that I do this all the time now. This is a sign of getting old. He's the art director for DC Comics for some time. And he did this absolutely beautiful watercolor about this fellow who wants to become, and eventually does become, a Cenobite, which are the angel demons of Clive Barker's, you know, storyverse there. And he's a circus performer who puts on, he's basically emulating a Boris Karloff or a Lon Chaney Jr., where, you know, the self-applied makeup and taking on all these different fantastic. Thanks, Jim. Wolf person, that's the part I think's fantastic. There you go. But he's referring to these faces as being this is the goal, this is the prize, this is my ambition in order to capture those. And of course, it's a horror story, so it gets dark. But it's so beautifully done in watercolor, and he clearly did an awful lot of research into how best to capture that aesthetic, that value aesthetic of the Universal movie theater types, so movie character types. There's another piece that I highly recommend everybody get a look at for a beautiful comic, and that is John J. Muth did an absolutely phenomenal charcoal graphite. He illustrated a 3-book rendition of Fritz Lang's M, which is in a beautiful black and white film. He did a comic book adaptation of that, and it is quite simply one of the most beautiful comics that I've ever seen, because using those simple approaches, he managed to absolutely capture the 1930s film aesthetic, that soft, you know, glow of from the film itself, that sort of soft graying and all of those beautiful light textures that are throughout there. And it's just an absolute phenomenal adaptation to start with, because he's truly captured the story. but just something to see. I've got I can show people if they're interested. I've got them here at the house in a box. I can pull them out. Or no, it's not. They're on a shelf. I can find them at some point. But if you have an opportunity and you want to see something that isn't the norm in comics, by goodness, take a look at that sucker. Beautiful. He's a phenomenal artist in general. But his large paintings and drawings are just, he's basically drawing a forest. Almost to life size. It's almost to scale, so. Yeah, this is Karloff's Dracula coming together. I'm pleased with this. But there's that wonderful little thing about the little textures in his forehead. And I don't know if the makeup is necessarily trying to cover those up or this somehow does this beautiful enhancement of these lines in here, but I really like those a lot. And working from high contrast images, they're captured quite clearly. So Martin Landau did a really great Boris Karloff for the Ed Wood film. This is Greg. I don't know. I'm just naming which Brady this one is going to be. Because Greg's at the top of the three. Did I? I'm in them. I'm in those films. I'm a guy at the back of the scene that says, "Don't go in there. You kids will get in trouble." It's the same character I play in every role I take. Hey, you guys. The bad guy went over here. I've got to get that for you, Jim. I had a heck of a weekend, but I haven't forgot. Hey, everybody. Jim's working on something new. Very excited. Very excited about it. Not like it's a surprise Jim was working on something new. You know what I mean. Looking forward to your new project. I'm looking forward to all kinds of stuff right now. I really do want to get together with people, like start switching up some addresses and sending people some fun packages of here's some things to read. So if anybody wants to DM me your addresses, let me know. Hold on, I got to show you something. This is the Stanley Kubrick book that my wife got me. This is from the touring exhibition from the Kubrick Museum, and this is the book that goes through all of his films and in-depth studies of, like, that's the Overlook set. That's the craziest thing to see that, you know. But here's in-depth analysis into all of his films, made and unmade films. What? Yeah, and his photography work, and yep. Love this book. Love it. Love it. What am I missing? Oh, thank you. That's very nice here, Jim. I had a lot of fun with the salt and pepper page. I really enjoyed this, the one that I put out today. So this is what I'm trying to example today is I had an email that had asked about the weird way that I draw and the way that I just sort of move around inside of an image and don't structure out the image. And so this is me trying to example, for anybody that's joining in late, the way that the old noggin here works to put together images the way that I do. And it's funny how differently that you can work when you're working from your head or from reference and yeah. My hubs is the movie aficionado. Good word. I share my book on Kubrick's unmade Napoleon film on my live stream. I want that book. It's like a cinder block. Yeah, I heard you reference that recently, and yeah. I've got something I can show you. I have a doorstop in my studio. This was made for me. This is a silly thing to show you. Speaking of doorstops, this is my Alabama Slammer, as I call it. Somebody made me a Thor hammer because for the free comic book days at the store I worked at for years, I would dress as Thor. But this is concrete that this is made out of. So it's it holds the door open in my studio. But it's as I'm growing my hair back now, you know, the Thor things will probably start coming up again. Although now I used to resemble Fat Thor too. Anyways. But that's the hammer that someone made me, and it's literally a block of concrete. And so when people would come and they'd have their fancy costumes on, their Thor store-bought costumes, and I would wear a Red Riding Hood cape, and we had a replica Thor hammer that I would put on. That's my whole costume, because this I wear all the time, right? And I guess he wears big ones on his arms. That is 25 pounds. I think it's 25 pounds. Somebody told me it was 40 pounds, but I think it's only 25. So I'd carry that around for the day for Free Comic Book Day. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. We'd open Free Comic Book Day by my swinging it above my head. So it's a silly thing. He has a hardwood one as well, made out of I think it's an oak, and that's about 15 pounds. And he let me use that for a couple of years and said, "This doesn't do you justice." And he came back the next year with the concrete one and laughed because he gave it to me because I'm pretty much the only person he thought that could lift the darn thing. So it's a silly, silly thing. I knew that was you. That was an extra on the set of Clockwork Orange, but only for the most awkward moment. Gets a star. There you go. You got a star for that one. Who's laughing now? My mom said I was in it. There's fun facts, like fun cinema facts that I've seen some really solid arguments about. The baby in Labyrinth is Brian Froud. And Brian Froud is the son, I'm sorry, David Froud, I think it is the son of Brian Froud, who is the artist that did all of the designs and stuff for a lot of the monsters and the puppets and whatnot with Labyrinth. But first he worked on Dark Crystal. And so his baby, because he and Jim were tight friends, his baby is the baby in Labyrinth. In just 12 hours, your brother will be mine. So great. Well, laugh. Best line that whole film is well, laugh. I got that from a book, Dee Dee. I like some of the directors that I really like. I hate the idea of film snobbery, but there's some directors that I really like, and I try to say, have you seen this film? And my friends go, no one's seen that fancy film. Because there's I'm a huge fan of Jeunet and Caro, right? Which are these two French directors. They did films, The City of Lost Children, Delicatessen, but they also did Alien 3, right? That's the one that most of the North American market knows. But for me, it's those other films all the way. And they were kind of like the Guillermo del Toro of the 80s, I think. But the other thing that they're responsible for all right, guys, you're making up for Frank. My hubs likes to find inconsistency. I told him he should be in continuity. Continuity, sorry. ISU continuity. I really can't. I can't say that I'm too overly concerned about it in a lot of my pages of late. I'm having too much fun. So yeah, okay. What are we thinking for the? I'm going to do a Frank, but what are we thinking for the fourth? Those are terrible werewolves. What are we thinking for the fourth male figure, or is there any specific female figures that you would see me put down for the Brady Bunch image? Oh, look at that. There you go. Hey, it's Rondo Hatton, the Brute Man. That's a wonderful piece of literature right there. Portrait of Dorian Gray. How many times can you watch that movie? Your hubs, eh? If I love a movie, I'll watch it dozens of times. Yeah, there are certain films that I have that I can't. There's no way I could have counted how many times I've seen it. It doesn't test me. I'll play them in the background. It's not that I'm sitting specifically locked into the screen, but there's films that I'll play in the background that I've watched innumerable times. Just because certain films, when you look up for a moment and you catch something, and it's not just film per se, but also animations. Like I absolutely love the films of Satoshi Kon. Like he did Paprika or Millennium Actress, Three Godfathers, and they're just surreal, absolute surreal films. Bride of Frankenstein's a no-brainer, Gary says. Jim only watches his own films. Gets a star. Fantastic. There you go, Jim. Yeah, okay, so Bride of Frankenstein's in there for sure. This is a good one, but it's not. That's not Karloff. That's because that's Karloff. He's too old to be Frankenstein at that point. We've got looking up above. We've got looking down. So the other fun thing is that using a reference piece, I can look at. I can do an image from a reference, and then I can horizontally reverse it, or but I think I need a looking across. Bride of Frankenstein. You got a Bride of Frankenstein shirt, Didi? Frankenstein! There she is. Maybe an old gypsy. Philip says, I had to run out for a bit, but I'm back. Hours to make. It took me hours to make her for 10 seconds of vid. Well, welcome aboard, Philip. Yeah, that's rough. That's the thing, right? Like that's where it gets you. Hey, I'll switch colors. Let's see if this one even works. What am I doing? Check and see if it works first. I've got 500 pens. There we go. What about like a gypsy? A gypsy figure, or oh yeah, what's her name from Freaks? That might be a good one. See if I find an image of that. Oh, there we are. There's for heaven's sakes, Queen Mary Philbin. Mary Philbin, that's her name. There's a gypsy character in a lot of the Universal pieces. There's a sort of overlap in that. Oh, thanks very much, Philip. That's nice. Yeah. Yeah, the Wolfman had a gypsy woman, so I'll look her up. Mary Philbin is from the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, right? And also The Man Who Laughs, and Fay Wray. Yeah, that's a good one. Let's write some of these suckers down. Fay Wray, Mary Philbin, and yeah, this pen stinks. And a gypsy. That's a monster, all right, a gypsy. There's a new film that just came out, and as soon as I start talking about it, I forgot the name of the dang darn thing. But it's a modern gypsy werewolf story that's on, I think, Netflix or Prime. And of course, its name eludes me immediately. But it is just amazing. Just a wonderful project. See, that's the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Oh, it's Lil Dagover. That's Mary Philbin's son. I should have done Nosferatu instead of Karloff. That's just me because I think he's I have to admit I kind of like that one better. I was a teenage Frankenstein. How about Metropolis? How about the girl from Metropolis? Does she fit in that? Does she sit in the Universal suit? Bride of Frankenstein? Is that? No, that's Vampire Lovers. That's Camilla Pitt. I love books like this. These are so fun. Well, we got a couple of good ones to start with, so let's just get down to it. And so I've got Frank Einstein. Yeah, anybody ever read Madman? I always love the fact that the lead character in Madman is a guy who's been reanimated, and his name is Frank Einstein. A lot of people don't know that about Madman, is that underneath his mask, underneath his costume, he wore the costume for some time because he was green. And eventually they made him pink. But yeah, that's a husband and wife team of Michael and Laura Allred that did the Madman comics. Very influenced by big fans of beat material. Universal Studio Monsters is definitely a hashtag I got to put on this page, that's for sure. So this is one of those things where it's a pretty straightforward comic page to do, but I'm going to have to do a castle, I think, for the house, for the household setting. And for Alice, I'm leaning into Igor. Is anybody? I think that referentially sort of suits. Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's a good. I should draw Svuguli and hashtag him. Yeah, I'll write down Svugulian. Oh, I already have. Yeah, Svenguli. I've got. Yeah, I definitely can do a quick doodle of him there. And the page that I did recently about how I'm not really a modern horror guy. It's not really my aesthetic for scary movies. And inside that page, I talk about how I like these days I like laughing a lot more. And I have an image of Billy Van from Hamilton, Ontario here, who did the morning children's show called The Hilarious House of Frightenstein. And he plays this character called Griselda the Gourmet, who's this witch that is the cook for this Dracula castle. And if you're familiar with her, you realize how ridiculous it is that I put her in this horror list of monsters. And if you're not, please look it up. Please look it up. Frank, we're doing your page. Also follow Mallory O'Meara. I definitely will. Classic Invisible Man is a fun one. Not enough villains in smoking jackets. Okay, he's on the list. He's the fourth. He's Dad. I drew an Invisible Man for Inktober. Your sunglasses and a cigarette. There you go. On hold for 2 hours. I went to a blood place to get some tests done for my endocrinologist, and I sat there at this blood place for 2 hours with no line of sight whatsoever in front of me for where the number of individuals that were ahead of me was ever going to end. And I had been told that it'd be 20 minutes. And after that long, I had sort of said, yep, goodbye. Give me my health card back. I'm out of here. There we go, Frank. Hey, it's a Pretty Bunch page. Superhost, the host with the most. It's Channel 43 WUAB, Erie. Yep, that's definitely the sort of campy Saturday morning kids television movie guy that we had for this region. He really was the best. It's funny when you look at these people later on as an adult, you realize that whatever you thought they might have been, they're people. They're normal people. And I used to love The Friendly Giant when I was a kid. And this is a local show, and there's a guy who's got a rocket chair for two people to curl up in, and it's basically the way they've done it. They've taken dollhouse furniture and put it on the floor, and the camera of the set that looks like a castle. And as the camera pans up to the face of the actor, the Friendly Giant, that's how they play with the notions of scale. Completely perfect for convincing children that he's an actual giant. But a lot of fun. I used to love that program when I was a kid. He had Jerome the giraffe that would stick his head in a window. And, I can't remember the name of his, Rusty the rooster, who lived in a bag hanging on the wall. He'd come out and hand the giant his flute for him to play. Yeah, a lot of fun. But man, television is just not the same today. There used to be this sort of, it's not as much a purity as it is. It's this sort of elegant simplicity that we were afforded the luxury of having as children. And I'm sad for that loss. I'm sad for the fact it's all this sort of generic corporate, not the same. So I do this thing with my pens is that I'll turn them around. You can see all these drag lines, because when you're using a pen on an angle to get that nice soft line, you develop a dollop of ink on the opposite side. So I'll turn it out too. I'll turn it over like that on a little piece of paper towel to the side, just so that I can work that out. Yeah, Jerome the giraffe. Yeah. He'd say, "Well, hey everybody, Jerome's here." And he'd go, "Well, hello, giant." So cool. What's your stream with Adam and Frank, Philip? Hang in there with YouTube. Yeah, I hope to see more stuff. Hey, big surprise reveal. There we go. Nice. Yeah, I got to get you something. I'm plan on getting it to you in the next 2 nights. I'm really excited that Jim has asked me to be involved with something. And man, oh man, I've been going to theater classes. No, I'm just too much of a goofball. Hey, Phil, that's good to hear. That's good to hear, buddy. Really excited about that. It's got plans within plans. Hang in there. Everybody's loving you, Phil. All right, so let me get so you can see how I've changed the scaling a little bit and raised her eyebrow up a tad. Not enough forehead on this gal, but again, that's the sort of thing that I'm finding that being able to scan and drop into Facebook is allowing me the course correction of some of these shortages in my illustrations, my drawings. If I get the scale slightly wrong someplace, I can stretch that out. I can use that opportunity to pull that forehead up a little bit. And that, in this case, that's something that I can do, so it's kind of nice. I really didn't quite understand this character as a kid. I really didn't quite get the wonderful nuances of the portrayal of the Bride of Frankenstein. I just, it's this lady, and then soon after, of course, the lady's dispatched, but horrifically. But what I didn't quite understand was the wonderful things that you find as you get older and watch these old films, where you see this whole challenge that she experiences of emotions and trying to adapt to, recognizing who and what she is now, because she is made out of his dead fiance, which is really, you don't get that as a kid, So when that does register, you're like, oh, there's such a level of complexity to this that I never understood. This film was highly, by the way, this movie was highly censored. They were angry about so many shots in The Bride of Frankenstein. Shall I expect maple syrup in the mail soon? I'll drink it quickly before my doctor finds out. No, I'm not sending you maple syrup, Frank. I've got some other things, but no, I'm not sending you maple syrup because you told me about those health problems before. Do you guys tag the people who need to see your work on Instagram, Twitter, etc.? Like when you do fan art, do you tag them? I'm not sure who is in the know in Jim's field, but his work needs to be seen. For sure it does. For sure it does. I will tag, like today's, if you look at the tags for today's post for salt and pepper, hashtag salt, hashtag pepper, hashtag salt and pepper, it's so ridiculous. Hashtag showdown, hashtag cowboy showdown, hashtag cowboy shootout. It's just the stupidest variations I can think of. But I've done, the only instance where I've done illustrations of a character that I really appreciated was a character called Lorraine from Mad TV in the 90s. She's the lady that's God, that's cute. That's Lorraine. And so when I did those drawings, I linked it to Mo Collins, the actress that portrayed them, and she really enjoyed them. It was really, really nice. I felt really, really. I just did it on a lark, and it was one of the first things that I'd posted on Instagram, and she really took to them. So I did a couple of her characters for her, and just because during the pandemic, she and her husband were shooting Lorraine bits in their house as though he's found her. He's bought a new property, Alex, her husband, and Lorraine was still in the garage because Carl and the boys, they moved away there and didn't tell her that it was time to go away. So just good, fun, hilarious hijinks. But if you're not familiar with Lorraine, please do look her up. She's quite a character. So trying to get a hold of this high contrast. I don't want to lose the fact that her gown on her just seems so ethereal. So I'm not going to be drawing it in as an element. So. But that's pretty good hair for a gal that's just been, put together by a man. Men usually aren't as good as getting those updos done for people. I'm just trying to catch up. You would be surprised who will respond. Yes, yeah, that's true. Excuse the commas. Your iPad loves commas. Gary says he's lazy about tagging and hashtagging. Normally, I'll only tag if it's someone else's book or an actual picture of them or something. I think you should be tagging Mars, aliens. I think you should be tagging very specific things in every post that you do in relation to your book that's related to it, Gary. I do believe that because more people need to know about your work as well. I'm really quite taken by it. Who would be the perfect person to see your animation, Jim? It's funny. When I first saw Jim's work, that it was referred to me by Gary, and I thought, man, this guy, because I was a big fan of Bill Plympton, in the 80s, 90s, and of course still. But when I first saw Jim's work, I'm like, wow, does this guy ever get this sort of energy of like it's just got this sort of grassroots vibe to it, like early Bakshi or Plympton. And I'm like, man, he should, he should check out that guy's stuff, or at the very least, that guy should check out his. And then, Gary informs me that Jim has done a project with Mr. Plympton. So I'm like, what? Yeah. That was my sound. That's what I made. Quack. Yeah. So I'm not going to be too over the moon with her, with drawing her entire body, because it's really just her shoulders, her upper body and shoulders that are going to be seen. So anyways, like I said before, I got to stretch out this section right here just a little bit, move her hair up. But you need a show like South Park. All you guys need more recognition. Yourself as well, Diddy. I think more people need to see your sheer scope of art skills. It's pretty impressive to me. Jim Gaffigan shouted out Jim Lewin. Man, that's awesome. Like that guy. I like a lot of comedians that there's a number of comedians that I'm a big fan of that don't work blue. Gaffigan's one of them. Blue is where you swear a lot. My wife and I, for Valentine's Day, we got ourselves tickets to see Brian Regan. And if you're not familiar with his work, please do look him up. But we're very excited to see Brian Regan here in London. He's coming to London. I'm looking for Claude Rains. He was the Invisible Man. The Rocky Horror Picture Show told me about that when I was 12. I love this. Hey? Mask of the Red Death. Such a powerful image, that. Such a powerful image. This is after the abominable Dr. Fives. The man who made a monster. James Whale. James Whale. Brilliant. Did you know that is Doctor Strange? Have I told anybody this yet? That is Mr. Doctor Strange from Marvel Comics right there. That is the person that Ditko was thinking of when he drew Doctor Strange. Which is why I'm there's a part of me that's just a little bit disappointed by the actor who's hired him to play him right now, because that baritone voice, the worst kind of voice to have. But that the actor that plays him, I really was hoping for well, why don't you come into my sanctum sanctorum? Yeah, that's all I wanted. Would love if London Star of the Hobo noticed my videos. Yeah. His paw's getting away. Yeah. besides for other reasons that, you know, principally being that show was 30 years ago. I think if Vincent Price had been alive today, he'd have been Doctor Strange. I would hope, but no, I don't believe that. Unfortunately, he's not young and sexy enough for Marvel Comics. All right, so I'm looking for Igor. I'm looking for the Invisible Man, Frankie, and then we've got Fay Ray is one of the ladies. The gypsy lady from the Wolfman is one of the ladies, and this is the only Invisible Man image I think I've seen so far, which is so very disappointing to me. But we'll get a Gypsy Woman, and we'll get Fay Ray, and so we're looking for one more female. I mean, bride of the daughter of Dracula's daughter. That's what it was. There we go. There's one. Dracula's daughter. That was fun. Hey, thanks, Dee Dee, for hanging out. I'll catch you later on. Have a great day. It's not his full outfit, Gary, but we'll get... we'll get the Invisible Man in here. I always thought, because of the actor that played him having such a prominent proboscis. Tag, people, tag. Everybody go and see Dee Dee. Dee Dee's tomorrow morning. Because of his pronounced nose, he always reminded me in that initial appearance of The Shadow, which was really popular at the time. Am I drawing the Invisible Man? Yeah. Okay. Making sure. Yeah, Dee Dee's fantastic. They want to bring back the Universal Horror Monsters for a contemporary audience. And their first outing to do so was the Tom Cruise vehicle. And they had Gladiator, Russell Crowe, to play the Jekyll Hyde. And it flopped. It did not get well received at all. But there's a fantastic version of that out there where it's got a piece of the film that is without the special effects over top of it. It's just the sound. And as these people are getting flung around inside of an airplane. It's just the best. It's best acting I've ever heard Cruise do. Hold on, I'm just going to make this image a little bit bigger. Just make that a little bit larger. So I can't quite see the bandages, so I'm just going to make up my own. It's funny how unconsciously you reduce the size of your images based on sometimes when you've got smaller reference, you'll change the size of the image that you're drawing in relationship to the reference. This is a fun one. I'm having a lot of fun with this this particular project here. I'm trying to do images of the different characters so that they're facing a different direction, so that as I put them together into the 9-panel format of the Brady Bunch family, it looks like they're all looking at each other in the different squares. I think part of the mistake was naming it The Mummy after we already had Brendan Fraser in his run of Mummy movies. Well, the original's named The Mummy, so technically they own the own the opportunity to have that as its name. But I think that it's just because it's not a very good film. It's a little bit. That's not what the people are looking for in Universal horror films. I don't think they're looking for a Marvel movie, and that's what that is. It's very much a Marvel style film. So that's, I think, where it misses the mark. Is they really needed to, like the. I'm trying to think of the actor's name. He is in Usual Suspects. Benicio. I'm terribly sorry. But he did a Wolfman with Anthony Hopkins recently, and that was phenomenal. But I really think that the best contemporary Wolfman film that we've had in the last 25, 30 years is Jack Nicholson in Wolf. No, Benicio del Toro. Yes, it is. Thank you. I was thinking it was wrong because of Guillermo del Toro. I didn't realize they both. It just clues into me right now that they both have the same last name. I hadn't quite caught on to that. Thanks, Frank. But the Wolf film with Michelle Pfeiffer and Jack Nicholson and James Spader is wonderful. I really enjoyed that film. It has the right kind of campiness. It has the right kind of, intrigue and mystery to it. And Chris Plummer as a supporting character in that. Fantastic. It's the Del Toro Wolfman was okay. My favorite modern ones are American Werewolf in London, The Howling, and Silver Bullet. Silver Bullet does have a lot going for it, except for the werewolf, which is the part that that's the most unfortunate part of that. It does look like a giant possum. I loved Wolf though. I really liked it because I feel like that portrayal of the werewolf with Jack Nicholson as him is as close as we've ever got to the Universal Lon Chaney Jr. Wolfman, and I think they really caught on to that energy and vibe, so that it to me that feels the most like the visual aspect of the character, but the visual feel, the vibe, the absolute capturing of the aesthetic of the 1930s Wolfman, 1940s Wolfman is definitely the Benicio del Toro, because they really got a hold of that one for the fogginess, the furiousness, he's rushing around, all that energy there. Fantastic. All right, so there's our next one. What are we at? An hour 55. What are we at? Time the few people like the Wolfman movie from the early 200s, if that's the one you're referring to. Silver Bullet has a rocket-powered wheelchair. Kids, we're gonna have to kill this werewolf. Yeah. I think that is the same. That is the Wolfman that we're talking about, Philip. Nick Nolte. It's Gary Busey. Yeah, it's definitely Gary Busey. All right, so there's there's the three boys for the Brady Bunch family, and what that leaves me to do is Frankenstein as the dad. So that'll be a fun one to do. And then we've got the bride here for one of the three girls, and a gypsy and Fay Ray. So that's the two other girls. We just need to figure out one for mom, and then I'll just get crack-a-lacking and finish these off. If anybody has any other thoughts about strong female contenders for that. See, there's a lot of see, there it is. There's Dracula's daughter. I may well use her for the mom. But the Medusa's pretty good here too, right? St. George, Seven Curses, Vampire Circus. Yeah. What's this one? That's a 1970s, whatever those Vincent Price, or not Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, whatever those were called. I thought it was Gary Busey. I mix him up with Gary Sinise. What the hell are you talking about? You know, because they both have the name Gary. By that way of thinking. Might as well refer them to Gary Shanley. All right, Gary Hodges is here. Anyways. Too far ahead, but iconic. Yeah, the stop motion Medusa for sure. She was wonderful. Ray Harryhausen, wasn't it? Oh, what's her name from Hunchback? Maybe that's when is this Hell's a Poppin'? I don't know if you've seen Hell's a Poppin', guys, but if you get a chance to see that film is insane. Absolutely insane. Fantastic. They not only break the fourth wall in that film, they throw it out. Like, they get rid of it. Like, they're just constantly talking to the audience. Hammer flicks. Thank you. Esmeralda from Hunchback might be because she's a fantastic villain. She's not necessarily a villain, but this guy gives me the chills. Right here. Okay. Yeah, I think that Esmeralda might be the answer, folks. Yeah, I'm going to really get into a whole kick here of Universal horror movies if I'm not careful. Harryhausen's what got Philip into animation. That's fantastic. Isn't that something? I think it's a star. Boing! Oh, pardon me, everybody. Uh-oh, that's my alarm telling me, hey, wrap it up and check your blood sugar. Which I think I might do. Okay, well, I think I'm going to find Esmeralda for the mom, or Esmeralda, Fay Ray, a gypsy woman, Igor, and Frankenstein. And those will be the other ones that I'll be working on for this. This has been a lot of fun. Anyways, so the questions towards... so the question that I got in the email, and I'm not going to point out the person that sent me the email in case they watched the video, but why do I draw without using line breakdowns and stuff like that? And I just sort of did an example at the beginning of how I tend to just sort of move around the image from a starting point and along with the reference material that I'm sourcing from. So yeah, I hope that answered that question if they watch this video. So other than that, I'm going to get this finished up and do it in the Brady Bunch format, and I'm looking forward to that. It's a fun suggestion. If anybody else has any more one-page comic suggestions, feel free to put it in the comments here on Instagram, on Facebook, wherever you like. But if something pops in your head, by all means, please feel free to shout it out. I'm having a lot of fun doing these. My objective goal is to have 50 to choose from for volume 2 of One-Page Comic Extravaganza. And, I'm at 42 today. So this has been, really productive time. This is 42 one-page comics, and I'm still getting at least a page day done on the 2 other projects. So busy, but yeah. Fun live today. Oh, no, Philip, thank you for coming out. I don't expect people to have to hang out here and do whatever, come in every day. I really appreciate it. I randomly watch Medusa sequel once a month. Oh, my heavens. Yeah, it really is wonderfully done, though. Harryhausen was a master. Because he can, person that emailed Chris. Because I could draw like that. Everybody can draw like this. It's really it's just I think that over time and with practice, everybody sort of finds their own niche of working. It might not be specifically exactly the way I draw, but everybody has their niche and everybody has their direction and their structure of bringing together a drawing and working it out. So, but that's the rest of you, Frank. Gary, yeah, that's Gary that said that. Thanks. Yep, there you go. You met Gary. Yeah. Okay. So thanks for everybody hanging out today. This has been a lot of fun. But I'll get this page put together for tomorrow, and then we've got another suggestions set up to get working on for that. But if anybody else has any more one-page ideas, and if there's anybody that might want to get involved in that process as well, by all means, shout out to them and do what we can. I've been trying to tell a bunch of people about other people that I know and through social media or personally. I've been trying to get them to take a look at all these channels of everybody that I've had the opportunity to meet here online. And, no matter how far away people are in Texas or in Arizona or California, and or just also in Toronto, or also in Ontario, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's really quite exciting to me that we're all able to engage with each other in this way. So thanks for hanging out. I hope you had fun. I hope you keep creating. I hope you're working on stuff. Here we go. Here's the last joke of the day from Frank. I have a niche. She lives down the street from me. Well, isn't that sweet? That's very sweet, Frank. Yeah, that's sweet that you have a nice niche. There you go, buddy. Okay. Thanks very much, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow, 2:00. Bye for now.